friends, welcome to or welcome back to the channel Jane Reads. My name is Jeanette, and today I'm excited to do the Bookish Elements book tag. I saw Anne from In Search of Wonder do this tag a few months ago, and I kind of saved it, be like, I want to do this tag when I'm looking for a tag video. And today is the day I am going to do this tag. So Anne got the questions from Sarah's Hope Cottage. So I will link both of those creators in the description below, and you can go and watch their videos. And I'm going to go through the questions. I have looked at them briefly, but haven't really given a lot of thought to them. So we're going to see how this goes. There are 8 questions. So let's just dive right in. Number 1, how do you feel about foreshadowing or dropped hints? I love them. I love kind of trying to guess what is being foreshadowed, or if hints are dropped, can I piece it together before everything is revealed? I really enjoy them, but I read a lot of mysteries, suspense type books, so that kind of makes sense in a way. And if I haven't caught the foreshadowing moment or the dropped hints, and then I hear somebody like kind of talk about it that, oh, that moment was foreshadowed in this book. And I was like, wait, what? So then I have to go back and look and see if I can figure it out. Or when I reread a book, which I really enjoy rereading, I like to see, I might not have caught the foreshadow or the dropped hint in the first read through, but now that I have an idea what happens, and then oh, that was foreshadowed. I really enjoy that. Number 2, bookmarks. What do you use and how do you feel about bending the corner down? Well, first, don't bend the corner down, please. I do not like creases on pages. Okay, for bookmarks. I'm a little fussy when it comes to bookmarks, and I'm very attached to my bookmarks. So what I use is a business card. This is a friend's business card that I got from him 1999, early 2000, somewhere around there. So I've had it for a number of years. I am not concerned about you seeing like the information on it because he doesn't live there anymore. No information is current for him. And yeah, this is really my favorite type, really, because I like small bookmarks. Like I like to use a small item for a bookmark for a couple reasons. One, when I'm reading outside and I don't want to just put my bookmark down on the table, so this is the book I'm currently reading, which I will be finished by the time this video goes up, most likely. So I will take the bookmark out of where I'm reading and stick it in somewhere else in the book, right? And then when I'm reading, it doesn't have the weird lay down, whereas if I used a long bookmark, it would kind of bunch in places. It wouldn't matter if I would put it like behind where I'm reading or in front of where I'm reading. Like it would still have that weird fold that kind of, I don't know how to explain that. So I do not like thick bookmarks. I don't like long bookmarks. I don't want tassels. I just want a very simple, clean. So this is my go-to bookmark. And it has been my go-to bookmark for years. Years. Like at least 20 years, if not more. Okay. And the other thing is when I'm like reading, like just in the living room, for example, and I don't put it like just in another spot on the book, I can just put it down on the coffee table and I don't have to make space for it or worry about it. It just, sits down on a little spot. Like I don't need a big room for it. I don't know. I'm weird. And I have lost it a couple times. As I sit on the couch I put it down on the arm of the couch. I've moved my blanket and stuff, and I was like, where'd my bookmark go? because it being small, right? Okay, but it works great when I read one book at a time, because this one is in my current read. Now, I do have a second business card. This is LD Stoth, who is an author, local author to me, who I have read a few books by. I've read 3 works by her. And this card I've had, when did her book come out? Do I even know? Do I have a copy of it? Yeah, of course I do. And let's see. So this book came out 2017. It's Stormy Lake by LD Stoth. This is when I got the bookmark. And so I've had this one for quite a while too. So if I'm reading 2 physical books, this is what one will be in there, right? Those are the 2 bookmarks I use. Now, I do use other bookmarks at times. Just last month in August, I happened to have 3 physical books going, which is very unusual for me. And so I use this bookmark that I had been given recently by Christine Hill Sons for The Lawyer and the Laundress, for her debut book that I absolutely loved and was set in Canada. And so this is a longer bookmark than your standard business card, right? This one's not marking my spot. I can take it out, right? So it's quite a bit. It's probably about 2 business cards, give or take. But maybe this will do what I like. Can you kind of see how it pops? And I don't like that. So yeah. So I am not one who will go into a bookstore or a gift shop or anything and look for the bookmarks. I basically use those 2 business cards on rotation all the time. And then if I need one, I have that one. I do have a couple others, but very rare do I use anything other than these 2. So yeah, I'm fussy. Okay, number 3, forgotten bookmarks. Have you ever found something strange in a book? No, I don't think so. The only thing I can remember finding in a book, as I'm like reading the book, I'll be like, oh, there's the receipt from when I bought the book. Because when I buy books, right, I walk out of the store, I usually don't have a bag because I have forgotten to bring my reusable bag with me, most likely. And we don't have shopping bags at most stores anymore. And so I will get the receipt, stick it in the book, and then put it on my shelf and forget that the receipt's in there. So then when I'm going, I'm like, oh, look, there's the receipt. So I bought this book on. Yeah. Or if I'm shopping in a thrift store, a lot of times as I'm in the store looking at the book, I will be going like this through the book just to make sure that there's nothing in it and to look at the condition of the book. Now, I think that comes from kind of 2 aspects. I worked in a thrift store and oversaw a thrift store for a while. So I wanted to make sure we're putting out good stuff, clean stuff, and whatever, right? And there wasn't something weird inside books. And kind of the book section was where I really enjoyed working or kind of overseeing. And the other thing is, I don't want to bring something weird home. So when I'm buying, I'm always kind of like looking just to check. So yeah. The only thing I can say I found in a book is a receipt that I most likely put inside the book. Number 4, inscriptions and annotations. How do you feel about writing in a book, and how do you annotate if you do? Well, I don't annotate. I do not like writing in a book. I always kind of think like, oh, this is a little bit permanent. What if I want to give this book away? Or what if I decide later to donate the book? Then somebody doesn't want my writing in the book. So I do not. And if I do want to like mark a quote or something, I usually, if I'm reading a physical book, I will usually take a picture of that page, as I'm reading, so that then I can go down and write the quote in my reading journal, for example, later on. And usually if I've taken a picture of the page, it doesn't have to be precise. It doesn't have to be like the full page, but enough of the page that I know where that quote is that I want. So then I'm just briefly looking at the photo again and I'm like, okay, that's the quote I want. Or, like make sure I have the page number in it so that when I can go back to the book and open it to that page and be like, okay, there's the quote I want, to write it down. I don't know. I don't want to mark up books because yes, I might be keeping it for now, but what if I want to pass it on? And then I don't have any annotation supplies either. Now, they could have been handy. When I was reading The Case for Christ last month, I just used Post-it notes that I had in my desk to mark some of the pages so that when we were doing the live chats, I could easily flip to that page to talk about the quote on that page, for example. So I just used Post-it notes for that because I don't have any of the annotation supplies. So yeah, very, very simple here. Okay, number 5. Introductions and footnotes. Do you read them or avoid? And what makes a good introduction? Okay, well, I do read introductions usually. I do not pay attention to the footnotes most of the time. Now, usually most of the books I'm reading don't have footnotes. So that's pretty easy to ignore them when they're not there. For introductions, I think more about the author's note at the end is what I'm kind of thinking about, because I really enjoy when it's like a history fiction, like historical fiction base. I really like kind of finding out from the author what was true in the story, like what they based the story on that was true, and what they fictionalized. For example, last month I read The Silver Shadow, which is part of the True Colors series, which is based on historical crime events that happened, but they've been fictionalized. And so then the author note talks about what was true of the story and what was fiction that they added to the story. And I really enjoy knowing that kind of stuff. But that's not normally in the introduction. Sometimes, but not very often. It's usually at the end of the book. So, yeah. I don't really have an answer for introductions because I can't think of ones that have introductions. Okay, number 6. Accessories. Do you use bookish accessories like a clip-on reading light, book sleeve, annotation materials, bookstand, etc.? Well, we already talked about annotation materials. And no, I do not use any. I pretty much don't use majority of bookish accessories. See, I can't even say the word. So the one bookish accessory that I do have is a case for my Kindle. Like that is the one thing I do have. That is the only bookish accessory I have that I can think of. I do not have a book light. I don't have a book sleeve. Yeah, no. And basically, I keep it simple. For me, it's keep it simple. Now, I did make sure that when I purchased my Kindle, because my original Kindle, I had one of the Kindle keyboards, so one of the very original ones, and it had the buttons on the side of the Kindle. And so when I purchased my new Kindle, I made sure to buy the Oasis so that I still had the buttons on the side, because I don't want to touch the screen to flip. I don't like doing that. I will read on my phone, but I do not like touching the screen to flip a page. So I can see the advantage of that page clicker for the Kindles now to that extent, because, if you don't have the buttons, that might be nice. But then I'm also on the other end of it, like, wow, it's not that hard to hold a Kindle and turn the page. Like, I don't understand. But that's like my personal opinion. But I have a Kindle that has the buttons. So, and with it, I can read it like this, or I can flip it and read it, like use the buttons on this side as it opens. Read the button, press the buttons on this side, and the page will flip depending which way I'm holding it. It won't do it when it's turned off, but it will. So, I mean, I paid upgrade to have the buttons, and I don't think Kindle even makes this one anymore. And so, yeah, I'd be tempted for the Kobo because of that, because I can't imagine not having buttons on my Kindle. So yeah, that's really my bookish accessory. Okay, number 7, art and illustrations. How do cover art and illustrations affect your reading experience? I do not like illustrated covers, especially illustrated covers that have people with no faces on it. It really seemed to be the trend for a little while. I think maybe it's kind of moving out of the trend now, but it was, and I just, no, like really? No. I would like a realistic looking cover, like a photo cover, a landscape, or like people but without their faces, but like this type of style where there's no, the heads are cut off. Right, again, like the full face is not showing. These are my favorite type of covers. But I mean, I also like these books are perfect. I also like just like a very basic photo based cover with no people on them. Like, they're kind of my favorite type of covers. Or even like the historical fiction where like the woman's walking away. That was kind of like a big trend for a while, that, you know, every historical fiction book had a woman walking away from it. I like those type of covers because you don't have the people's faces and you can picture the character the way you want to based on the descriptions rather than like being told. I remember reading one book once. I do not remember what the book was, but the person on the cover, you had a full face, so much more than this. You had a full face. She had blonde hair on the cover, and in the book, she's redheaded. And it was like, wait, what? So I'm picturing this blonde character, and then I get told she's redheaded. I was like, no. So yeah, I'd rather not have. Okay, number 8, format. Which format of books do you prefer? Hardback, paperback, audio, or digital? And do you do different things for different situations? So my favorite type of book to own is a hardcover book. I like the way that they're just solid and they stand up on their own. And when I'm reading them, I will take off the dust jacket. And they're just nice and clean, like, right? And you're not influenced by the cover at all when you're reading the book because you don't have a cover. This is my favorite style of book. However, they are not the most comfortable to hold for a long period of time. They don't always open really well to read, which makes them not the most comfortable to hold, right? But I love the basic look of them because most of them are plain. Like, this is kind of my favorite with the foiling title on the side. That's really my favorite. However, they're not the most comfortable to read at times, and they're not the most price efficient. So my next favorite style is paperback. They're affordable and they are usually pretty easy to read. I do have some paperbacks that open like a hardcover where they're really tight and there's like, can I open this anymore so I can read? kind of. But they're still my favorite style to read, and especially because I love to be able to move the bookmark and see my progress. That is the advantage to reading a physical book, because I can see my progress in the book. Now, I have a Kindle. And I really enjoy reading on my Kindle. But the Kindle, again, has its own advantages. Or an e-reader. Doesn't have to be a Kindle per se, it's just that's what I have. An e-reader has advantages because I can have 4 books, for example. Let me grab this, right? So I can have these 4 plus more in this. So, I mean, this is very handy for travel. This is very handy for reading in bed at night because I do not need a light on to read on my Kindle. So it definitely has its advantages as well. So I think for like an overall reading experience, I didn't talk about audio. So I was not an audiobook reader for quite a number of years. It's only the last 2 to 3 years that I have started listening to audiobooks, and I have fallen in love with audiobooks to a certain extent, but I have fallen in love with them. I really enjoy listening to them as I'm getting ready for work in the morning, driving to work, or when I'm in the office alone and can, right? I've enjoyed them, but I still would prefer to read a book. But I've been able to read more because of audiobooks. So they have their own place as well. My favorite way to read a book would be, my ideal way to read a book is to have an audio version of it and have a physical version of it and have an e-version of it. And the reason that would be my ideal way to have a copy of a book, because I like to read 1 book at a time. That is my preference. A lot of times I am reading 2 because I cannot get my audiobook as a physical read book, or I can't get my physical read book as an audiobook. So most of the time I am reading 2 books. But in my ideal world, I'd have the same book in all formats. And if I do read more than 1 book, though, they are not the same genre, and the character names cannot be similar or the same because I need to keep them straight, right? Okay, but the reason I would have all 3 as my ideal reading format is as I'm getting ready for work in the morning, I would listen to the audiobook. When I come home from work and in the evening, I could read my physical book. And then I could switch over to my ebook and read in bed before going to sleep. That would be ideal. Now, I am not going to buy 3 versions of the same book. So if I cannot get them from library, I'm going to buy 1 version out of the 3 options. But yes, that would be my ideal preference. But if I was only keeping books for looks, it would be hardcover. And they would not have dust jackets on them. But I keep my dust jackets on for a couple reasons. I do want to know what the cover looks like because, it's kind of a visual, oh yeah, I've read that book. But on my shelves, to have just this would be really kind of cool. But then what do I do with this? Because I'm not throwing it out. So where would I store this? And I don't mind, the mixed color or whatever, but it'd be really cool if all my books were like this. But hardcover also takes up more room. Like those O'Malley books there are laying down because they won't stand up. So they're taking up more room that I could have more books standing up if they weren't laying down. So, yeah. Okay, so that is all the questions. And now you've learned a little bit more how fussy I am when it comes to my books and reading and accessories and yeah. So do you agree with any of my opinions? Are you like me in some ways, or do we completely disagree about some things? Which is okay. Everybody has their own likings and we do not all agree, and that is why there's so many different types of different things, because there's something for everybody. I am not going to tag anybody in this video, but if you have a channel and want to do this tag, go right ahead and do it. I will have the the questions. Wow. I will have the questions listed in the description box below so you can get them from there. And I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video today. And I would love it if you would like and subscribe if you are not already. Have a great day. Bye.